Hello viewers from wherever you are tuning in to SSBC. This is Roundtable coming to you live in our studio headquarters. My name is Mayien Riam. On today's edition, we will look at the role of IGAD in ensuring that South Sudan transit from conflicts to democratic state through elections. The Intergovernmental Authority on Development acts aim to accelerate economic and social developments and integration of the members of the region through integration efforts of the regional economic communities and the member states. My guest in the studio is none other than His Excellency Ambassador David Moga Kwaji, IGAD Head of Mission to South Sudan. Kwaji served in various positions, both private and public sectors, serving regional Pan-African companies, non-governmental organizations, international development organizations, as well as regional economic communities in Africa. Kwaji holds VS of Actual Science and Master of Business Administration and others academic attachment. Your Excellency, I can say I'm proponent, honored, and exceedingly humble to host you on Roundtable today.
Thank you, my brother. I'm equally happy and honored to have this unique opportunity to be interviewed by the South Sudan Broadcasting Corporation today.
It's my pleasure having you today. Your Excellency, let's start. Can you briefly tell us a mandate of the IGAD mission in South Sudan? You're the head of the missions accredited to South Sudan. What are the mandate of IGAD in South Sudan?
All right, thank you for that critical question. First of all, I will take you back to the foundation of IGAD. IGAD was officially launched in 1996, and it is within the same year that the heads of state and government of the 8 countries of IGAD, namely Kenya, Uganda, Somalia, Sudan, Ethiopia, and Eritrea, as well as now South Sudan being the 8th, they expanded the regional cooperation among themselves by focusing on 3 key priority areas. The first one is food security and environmental protection. The second one is economic cooperation, regional integration, and social development. And the third is peace and security. Now, these 3 additional and enhanced mandates expanded the IGAD Secretariat, which sits in Djibouti. On its relationship to the IGAD member states, IGAD came up with the idea under the wisdom of the new Executive Secretary, His Excellency Dr. Workneh Gebeyehu. The IGAD mission offices were officially launched in 2021 with the unique mandate and to enhance the development efforts of its member states through value adding and through technical support. So the key is to, 1, enhance the visibility of IGAD in the country, 2 is to deepen the engagement, and 3 is now to support and to coordinate all the IGAD programs within the country.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now let's talk of the roles of the IGAD mission in South Sudan. What key roles are you playing in South Sudan as IGAD as we speak currently?
First of all, I will begin with the last point, that is the role of supporting and coordinating IGAD programs within South Sudan. Just last week, the IGAD mission supported and ensured a very successful training and establishment of the National Technical Committee for the Durable Solutions Strategy. Prior to this, we have been supporting numerous mission visits, such as the visit of the Special Envoy last week, as well as other IGAD training and workshops in the country. The second is to deepen the knowledge and awareness of IGAD through such engagements as we're having now, interacting with the government institutions, with the stakeholders, and ensuring that the IGAD's presence is felt on the ground.
That's good, Your Excellency. Now let me take you back to objectives and the mission of IGAD. is to assist and complement the effort of member states to achieve through increasing in food security and environmental protection, peace and security, and economic cooperations and integration in the region. On all the mentioning matters, what value have IGAD added to the economic of South Sudan, to boost the economic of South Sudan? What value again have it had in the security of South Sudan, to make sure that South Sudan is a secure country which nobody is intimidated on his or our way?
Thank you, and it is good that you elaborated on those areas, because the first step that IGAD has taken was on the peace and security pillar. Now, as you know, without peace there can be no economic activities. So one of the key milestones of IGAD in South Sudan is on the pillar number 3, which is on the peace and security, and that is where we were able to usher in the CPA, and after that the peace agreement in 2014, and also the recent one in 2018. So because of this relative stability, economic activity continues, and further to that, you cannot have solid economic activities without foundational cooperation, and that is where IGAD, through the second pillar, is focusing on regional cooperation and integration to ensure that IGAD is able to support its member states to be able to be part and parcel of the international economic community. That way they are able to operate, and through some of our programs we're able to establish the one border post in Nimule through one of the programs that we had, that is part of the transboundary trade and support.
Let me ask about IGADs. Do you give your support in kind of trainings and just advocacy, or you also support and physically, like giving direct to the government or to the concerned authority?
We do both. For example, less than 3 weeks ago, IGAD was honored to hand over 2 medical facilities which were built through a project that was being supported by IGAD. The 2 medical facilities are in Nimule and in Wanto, and also we donated a medical truck. That shows the physical part. Above that, we have the technical assistance as well as the trainings, which are aimed to ensure that the workforce, especially within the government offices, are well trained and are uplifted to the level of the other member states within the region. So we do both in terms of that.
Okay, now let's talk of poverty elevations. What is the strategy advice would IGAD give with poverty in achieving sustainable peace, gender equality through democratic process in South Sudan? What advice can you give us, IGAD?
Of course, we advocate for resilience to ensure that the factors which drive conflict are addressed in terms of resource conflict, and also in terms of ensuring that there is information which comes in the form of early warning to support even the farmers on the ground. A good initiative is the coming in of the Greater Horn of Africa Climate Outlook Forum, which will be taking place in Juba this coming May. And through such initiatives and through such programs, IGAD is able to support the farmers on the ground by disseminating such information about the rainfall, about the climate, so that they are able to support and ensure that their production is not affected drastically. The same applies to other sectors such as the livelihood as well as the livestock, where IGAD is also working very closely with the Ministry of Animal Resources and Fisheries to ensure that the capacity of the staff as well as the support in terms of information goes to the ground.
Your Excellency, given the fact that South Sudan, most part of it is severely submerged by water in upper regions and some part of Argazals were targeted by the flooding, which caused many inconvenience in those places. What have you contributed as IGAD mission in South Sudan to make sure that such people are also rescued from such disasters?
First of all, we work very closely with the South Sudan Meteorological Services, which is housed under the South Sudan Civil Aviation Authority. We have been providing them with the weekly forecast as well as training some of their scientists at our IGAD Climate Center in Nairobi. And also we have also been providing them with equipments to ensure that they are able to do the forecasting and make sure that they update themselves as well as the other stakeholders, so that whenever such events do arise, there is an early warning. Because due to the global nature of climate change, it is difficult for South Sudan to be excluded. Unfortunately, in one way or another, the country will get affected. And IGAD, through these initiatives, stands with the country and makes sure that not only do we support them within the information and the early warning side, but also through our humanitarian program, we come in with other partners to ensure that there is some bit of humanitarian action and humanitarian support provided to such affected persons.
Your Excellency, let's now go to election matters. When we talk of elections, it becomes the call of every South Sudanese that they want a democratic country, a government, elected government. South Sudan has been governing in the series of peace agreement, from 2005 agreement to independence to 2013 crisis, 2016, 2018, up to today, the roadmap government. People are talking of the elections. As we speak, nearly 8 months to the row, because elections supposed to be by December this year, 2024. Now, political parties have not even reached census. They have not even reached conclusions on whether they will go for elections, giving the key pending tasks, many remaining issues being claimed by the political parties. Do you believe that within such unprepared environment claimed by the political party that the country will go for election? And if not that, what can you say as IGAD mission to South Sudan to make sure that political parties agreed on one thing that will serve the interests of people of South Sudan?
It's a very timely question. You're not the only one having that. I believe, first of all, IGAD wants what is best for the people of South Sudan. That said, we work very closely with the 3 mechanisms which were established. That is the National Election Commission, Political Parties Council, as well as the National Constitution Review Commission. Through our direct engagement, direct support, and our special envoy who always is keen and following up these matters, we believe that that decision is solely that of the South Sudanese parties. IGAD does not decide. It is the people and the parties to the agreement to make that decision. Ours is to support and to ensure that the region focuses on the element of peace and security as part of the regional goals of IGAD.
But how do your support come in when, okay, as you put it, that IGAD does not decide on the people? if the people will decide. For example, if the political parties say, we don't go for election forever, and you're giving them support, are you going to support them when they don't want to go for elections? How will you support the will of the people of South Sudan?
First of all, I will take you to the current peace agreement, the RRCs, which clearly provides institutions and mandates them to be able to address such issues, because the agreement was designed in a way that it envisaged such scenarios. So before the IGAD heads of state come in, there are already organs on the ground who are tasked with monitoring and ensuring that the agreement is supported towards its implementation. And that said, we would like to reiterate that as IGAD, we will be ready and willing to support the decisions of the parties.
Your Excellency, I would like to say last commercial break. When we come back, we will look on the permanent constitutions making process, which is our next discussion. Our viewers, last commercial break. When we come back, we will continue with our show. Stay tuned. Welcome back from that short break. You're still watching SSBC's Roundtable coming to you in our studio headquarters here in Juba. My name is Mayien Riam, and to remind you with our topic of discussion today, we are looking at the role of IGAD in ensuring that South Sudan transit from conflict to the democratic country through election. My guest in the studio, for those who are just tuning in, is IGAD Head of Missions, is none other than His Excellency Ambassador David Mwanga Kwaji, is the head of the mission, the new head of the mission, IGAD head of mission to South Sudan, talking to Roundtable here in Cuba. You're most welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
As we went for short break, we talk about elections. Now we are in part of the elections, the permanent constitutions. Permanent constitution is the key for lasting stability, peaceful transition, and good governance. For the country to have good governance, stability should be guided by the constitutions. Now, what is your advocacy on the permanent constitution being mentioned by the government, and which is also one of the calls for some other parties, that if there is no permanent constitutions, there will be no elections? What is your advocacy at the head of the mission?
First of all, before I come to that, I would like to inform you that IGAD, through the Office of the Special Envoy for South Sudan, was able to conclude two important activities with regards to the NCRC. In March this year, we supported them during a 3-day validation workshop, which basically ensured that they were able to pass the key internal documents which are guiding the operations of the NCRC, such as the rules, internal rules and regulations, the civic engagement manual, among other guidelines within the NCRC. Secondly, we trained them and led them through an exposure and experience sharing training workshop, where we brought in experts as well as previous participants within the election, within the constitution making across the region. Those who participated in a similar exercise were brought, and they were able to enlighten the commissioners of the NCRC with regards to the ongoing discourse, which is very pertinent. Yes, indeed, it is very important to have such discussions, and as IGAD, we support the parties who are currently engaged in a dialogue, and we look forward to the outcome so that we are able to also continue providing our support as well as our facilitation as IGAD.
In your regional understanding of the constitutions, do you think that even if the current permanent constitution they are talking about, if it is not yet complete, can the country go for elections without it?
IGAD wants what is best for the people of South Sudan. And through their representatives in the form of the South Sudanese parties to the agreement, IGAD will support whatever decision that they're going to make. From a regional perspective, yes, IGAD is having a lot of experience regionally when it comes to the constitution making processes, and we have been in consultation with our member state who are willing to support South Sudan within this specific journey. And within the coming days and weeks, there will be some activities and support. However, the decision as to whether or not elections can be held with that or without permanent constitution, that is the sole decision of the parties, and we look forward to that decision.
Let's talk of the conducive environments of conduct of the election for the country to go for election, particularly South Sudan, who transit from the conflicts. Still, the youth are still holding the fire. They still harm into the extent more than the government. And the environments will not be that conducive to the political parties or for the Election Commission to conduct the elections. What can be your advocacy as a regional body, as the people who support the people of South Sudan? Let me put it to people of South Sudan because the parties belong to South Sudan. What can you say for the people of South Sudan to prefer a conducive environment to go for election?
IGAD advocates for peace, and we are very much aware about the unique situation being post-conflict country, and through the recent visit of His Excellency the IGAD Executive Secretary, an assessment was made of the current environment, and taking into consideration the will and the aspirations of the South Sudanese people, and this assessment is what now IGAD is using and will use to guide its future engagements within this particular topic.
Let's talk of reconciliations and truth telling, because people have to reconcile. Those who have involved into the conflicts, fighting each other, because sometimes it as a tribal war, sometimes as a political war, sometimes it as in a different names. Now for the people of South Sudan to go for election, they need to reconcile so that they become one brothers and sisters who love themselves. Now, do you as IGAD support the Truth, Healing and Reconciliation Commission to conduct such activities? Do you have support for them, or you only have support for political parties?
No. Of course, as I said earlier, the agreement was very comprehensive in nature, in that it also factored in the critical element of truth, healing, and reconciliation. That process was factored in, and it is within the current peace agreement. And through the institution of RJMEC, IGAD is supporting to ensure that this commission is established, and that it is even able to bring the people together so that they are able to have the reconciliation and to have the healing, which is a process that IGAD is firmly behind.
Let's go back to the security, which is part of your mandate. Now, they say the reason why the unified forces is not yet deployed, one is they don't have firearms. Because of the army embargo imposed on South Sudan, the government could not secure arms for the unified forces to be deployed. You as IGAD, you want the security, the peaceful country, without harming to protect people. Now, South Sudan is under sanctions on army embargo not to secure any weapons. What can you say as IGAD? What is your role to make sure that security succeeds? Because there's a need for this unified force to be deployed. If you give a pressure to the government to deploy them, or you give pressure to the international community to at least release necessary requirement demanded by the government to harm such unified forces.
Thank you. Yes, you are right. It's a very important aspect of security. Now, IGAD is not a pressure group. And that said, we support and facilitate as well as advocate for the implementation on the deployment of the National Unified Forces. Through the Office of the Special Envoy to South Sudan, there has been numerous engagements which are still ongoing, and it's very good that even the African Union through the C5 pledged to support with the NUF as well as the other aspects of the logistics, as well as with some food items and shelter. That support was pledged, and IGAD as a regional organization under the AU, we are firmly supportive of this initiative, and we have been coordinating with the AU to ensure that this exercise is taking place and that lasting peace and security prevails in this country.
Now let's go to national election commissions. National electoral commissions, as we speak, start their pre-election activities, in which they are now touring the states and administrative areas to acquaint themselves on the situation there, and also for them to form the commission in the state, county level up to the lowest level, and which they also mentioned in the press conference that by June registration will start. The voters registration will start. But in other aspects, political parties have not yet agreed. Now, where do we come in there as IGAD? These people won election, they are trying the pre-election activities, and then the political parties who are the very people to go and contest have not yet agreed on whether they will go for election or not. Now, as IGAD, where do you come in?
Thank you, Mayien, and I will begin with a saying that a day in a politician's life can be 100 days in a normal citizen's life. That said, we cannot speculate. We cannot jump into conclusions whether or not by June this will be done. This is something that is up to the parties. They are in discussion, and we welcome this, and whatever the outcome, we will ensure that it is we rally support around their decision. And as you had earlier mentioned, the issue of civic education and voter registration, yes, we welcome the recent visit by the National Election Commissioners who went to various states, as you saw on the TV and on the news. We welcome that, and we really look forward to the outcome of these visits, as well as to ensuring that the region stands with the country.
Your Excellency, what can be your message to the people of South Sudan that you are now serving at the head of mission?
Well, first of all is that to inform the public that IGAD is a people-oriented organization, and it serves a population of over 250 million citizens from the 8 countries of IGAD. Our message is that of peace, that of hope, and that of ensuring that they are able to own the process. This is a South Sudanese process. It is a South Sudanese-led process, and they must take full ownership of it. The role of the regional and international community is simply to support, to facilitate, and to provide very technical guidelines. So the final decision rests with the people of South Sudan, and we look forward to continuing supporting and ensuring that IGAD is brought closer to the community through deepening our engagements and ensuring that IGAD programs and activities and meetings and conferences are held more in South Sudan.
Your Excellency, thank you for joining Roundtable for these discussions. Our viewers, we have come to the end of today's edition. Stay tuned for the rest of the program coming up. Thank you.
Shukran ya akhway.
My pleasure having you today.